Well, folks, it's the 29th of November 2023, and I just get a chance to make a few videos from the kitchen table. And the whole agenda, the whole thing about the United States and NATO's role and the EU role is collapsing around their ears. It's collapsing around their ears. The situation in the Ukraine is that Putin at the beginning asked for equal and fair rights for the people of Ukraine who were Russian speaking. Instead of that, Victoria Nuland came over and ousted the legitimate government of Ukraine in 2014. And when the Russian people complained they wanted their identity kept, in Odessa, they drove them into a big building, set the building alight, and caused them to have to jump out to their deaths. Right now, the Russians were a minority in the Ukraine, and we're being lectured by our government to we must respect immigrants here as minorities. There won't be minorities much longer. And how come that I'm supposed to be against the Russian minority in the Ukraine, and I'm supposed to be for the migrant minority in Ireland? And what if the minority were Russians? I mean, this shows that they expect me to shift whatever way the government decides, instead of having a sensible policy on it all. In any event, the mainstream media are lying and still lying. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, they're all lying away about the great victories being scored by the Ukrainians. It's all a load of lies. A lot of the Ukrainians are in their 70s that's fighting. And the Americans have said, and NATO, that they'll fight this war to the last Ukrainian soldier. And Mitt Romney has said, sure, look, we put in money, that's all. We're not losing any lives. That's the viciousness of him. Now the thing about it is that that Putin has got the Crimea. He has this in his grip, never ever to be returned in anyone's lifetime. He's got the two eastern provinces, you know, the Donbass region and the other region. He's got them fully captured. He's launching into the Ukraine proper, and there's a bit of resistance there. And I'd say if he really wanted to, he could extend this to 2 years more and take over the whole of Ukraine, and there's not a damn thing the NATO, Americans, or anyone else can do. Now, don't forget, the Americans were driven out of Vietnam and they were driven out of Afghanistan. And here they are trying to overthrow the Russian government. And they've admitted that the agenda is to get Putin out, get their puppets into Russia, and let BlackRock investments and all these big investment houses who are failing to clean any more out of the American and the Europeans, let them in to rifle and take and pillage all that's there. Well, I'm sorry, folks, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you. Putin is never as strong. He's quite popular in his own country. His economy is doing very, very good in all the circumstances. There are people who are like a little bit of an economic upset won't stop them. And I mean, you even have some Yankee commentators saying, well, what we'll do is we'll impose more sanctions on Russia. Your sanctions are hurting yourself more than anyone else. The German economy is in a desperate state for the want of fuel. They thought they were going to run it on the renewables, and they're realizing now that I was right all along. And they're realizing Donald Trump was right to tell them not to rely on the Russians to that degree. So the point about all this is, folks, we're getting lies all over the place. There's no need to take it anymore. The war is over. The eastern provinces are not going back. The Russians have dug in with defences. Yes, they have problems. It's not, any war is not easy, and there's morale problems and all that, but it's not going to end any way that NATO wants. You can't fight a proxy war. If you want to fight Russia, you've got to get your troops in there on the ground and take their mobile phones off them and give them a big rifle and a bayonet and a 50-pound pack on the back, and you won't get too many of the sweetie snowflake Yankees and their LBGTQ officer corps, and those who are vaccinated to the hilt, and those who were pushed out because they wouldn't get vaccinated. They're not going to do it. So you're running out of soldiers. You can pump all the money you like till your economy is busted, and you can do what you like, but you can't create Ukrainian people. That happens in the bedroom, would you believe? And that's not going to happen anytime soon. This is the reality of the woke, cultural Marxist, leftist, war-hungry regime that Biden has. This is why they went against Trump, because he would try to make peace. Don't forget the Ukrainian government, even Zelensky, who was reported to have bought 2 yachts worth 75 million euros. It's reported that he bought, I don't know, is that right? 75 million he splashed out on two yachts with the money he's getting from the West. That's what they're saying. Now the point about it is whether it's right or wrong. I predicted at the very beginning that this war would go on 2 years, and I marked the 24th of February 2024 as a likely ending date, and it looks like I'm probably underestimated it. It could go on maybe another 6 months later into early spring, but there'll be no spring offensive. The Russians are dug in with defences, landmines and everything. All of that's only poppycock. There's a rump left, and it'll all depend. And we're going to see a situation where Putin is going to dictate the terms. He's going to dictate the terms. And meanwhile, the only country that's increasing its share in American bonds is Ireland. It's 370 billion of our money is pumped into support America. Don't forget that Frances Fitzgerald, when she was the Fine Gael minister for something here in Ireland, she gave at least 5 million to the American Democratic Party before the election in 2016. Some say it's as high as 15 million. I can't find out. But our taxpayers' money was sent over to elect Hillary Clinton. This is the reality of the situation. Also remember, when it comes to the migration policy, and proof of that is that Asi Bibi was a Catholic lady in Pakistan who was sentenced to death over an extreme Islam charge which had nothing to do with any real harm, and Ireland refused to let her in. Ireland refused to give her a solace and a place to come to in Ireland. So you can see that this has nothing to do with being nice or being kind or being welcoming. This is a vicious movement. The World Economic Forum with that Klaus fella and George Soros and them are part of it, but it's a vicious movement. It has a trickle-down situation through the American Democratic Party right here into Ireland and right into the EU, and it's going bottom up with the German economy tanking, and they're running out of money soon. Inflation is at an all-time high, and you see a reaction in Holland and in Argentina towards parties that would be more in my way of thinking, and they'll try to keep them out, and they'll try and keep them out everywhere they can. But in the end of the day, more and more people are going to see that what the reality is. So that's the story, folks. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. My job is to keep a center line, not to go either way too much. There'll be abuse both sides. And if I were to be the Taoiseach in the morning, there are people who are supporting me now who would probably turn against me because I'm not extreme enough. Okay, what we have to do is use the noggin, use a certain amount of moderation, and not yield to any extreme, and to stay going at it and keep at it and keep persuading people that what we're saying is common sense, and that what the other crowd are saying is a vicious movement to destroy our country, our culture, and everything about us, and they're doing very well with it. Right, we'll see you back for something soon, and bye, goodbye.